What do you think was meant by saying it was dangerous to meditate without a guide? Answer. It must have referred to cultists who go in for phenomena such as spirit rappings and table liftings. People do get so deeply immersed in the unnatural and miraculous happenings that they do become mentally deranged. But ignorance of nature's ways lies behind such practices. Also, the eternal ego of man lies behind it. Many people like to think that they are occult, whatever that means. People who are given to daydream about doing miraculous things but never do anything at all, or who suffer from what is known as delusions of grandeur, are the ones who like to feel that they are occult and can perform miracles because of it. That is the danger of taking up such unnatural things with such unnatural people. Question. It is reported that you said that science practitioners in healing must not express sympathy for the afflicted who come to them to be healed. I cannot believe you said such a preposterous thing. I know you will tell me it is not true. If true, please explain. Answer. I most certainly did say just what you have quoted. When you know the nature of the God mind, you will know that it is changeless. It is a continual ecstasy. The ecstasy born of constant giving of love, beauty, truth, balance, and the inevitability of his law working at all times to manifest him. The God mind is not divided up into the changing emotions of sympathy, anger, wrath, hate, intolerance, or fear. If God were sympathetic with the self-afflicted, or angry because of anger in man, or wrathful because of disobedience to his law, then God would take on those qualities and be what they are instead of being superior to them. The science healer must know God in him, be God, in order to heal. If you, as a science healer, are sympathetic with an afflicted one, you take on his affliction instead of giving him your balance, as Jesus did to the afflicted. You might as well share anger, hate, fear, and worry as to share grief and sympathy. You had a nervous breakdown yourself 2 years ago for just that reason. You took on all your patients' ills because of sharing their ills. They should have passed through you and become perfected in their passing. Instead of that, they all touched you in their passing. Your patients were not benefited. Question. But does it not seem inhumane to be unsympathetic where there is suffering? Answer. Quite the reverse. It is godlike to cure one of an unreality by giving a godlike balance. By sympathizing with someone, you acknowledge the reality of the ill. The moment you do, and you acknowledge its reality, you cannot help him. Question. Just what do you mean by godlike as applied to this case? Answer. To God all things are taken alike, and that means an unchanging ecstasy. That ecstasy of perfection, of rhythmic balance upon which his universe is founded, is the God-mind condition always. That is also the only mind condition of one who becomes cosmically illumined with the light. It is weak to be human. To be God-like requires the strength which comes only with full knowing. The greatest among men are those who have enough of God's knowing to take all things alike. The weakest among men are those who absorb every emotion as a mirror absorbs light. Question. I begin to see what you mean, but wouldn't such a person seem cold and heartless in the midst of grief and suffering? Answer. Love is never cold and heartless. When you give love and balance, you are giving the reality of God's perfection to one who has accepted the unreality and nurtures it. And if you have come to end grief and suffering, why should you continue it by becoming a part of it? Question. What do you mean by the words "and nurtures it"? Answer. To nurture it means that you think it is so real that you want human sympathy and are comforted by it. That brings us back to your original question. Do you not see that you are helping to nurture it by sympathizing with someone? Do you not also see that so long as one wants human sympathy, he is nurturing the ailment, and so long as one accepts human sympathy, one wants it? Question. What did you mean by saying that one accepts sickness and other unfortunate conditions? Answer. I mean that most all people who are ill, or who are failures, or who have great misfortune, have not only manufactured these conditions themselves, but have accepted them as real and inevitable, and they are real and inevitable just so long as one continues to accept them. But the moment one refuses to accept them, they disappear. Question. Will you give us a specific example to illustrate what you mean? Answer. Yes, I will give you several, for they all have the same earmarks, but vary in pattern. A shell-shocked soldier was sent to Bellevue for a checkup. From there he was to be sent to several places for 2 years, which was a period of time set by the doctors for his recovery. Having been so informed by the doctors, he believed that he was to be invalided for 2 years, and by that time he also believed that he would be well. Someone gave him a copy of The Man Who Tapped the Secrets of the Universe. Upon reading it the second time, he suddenly shouted, I'm well, and got up out of bed and asked for his clothes. Doctors and nurses tried to quiet him and get him back to bed, but he insisted that he was well and demanded his freedom. He held his hands out to show that they were steady and not trembling. Read this book, he said, and you will see why I know I am well. In 4 days they were obliged to discharge him as well by all their tests, and he started for the West to resume his old business. Before going, however, he called at my studio to tell me about it. What was in the book that healed you suddenly? I asked. It was where someone asked you if you had not known defeat, and you said that defeat was something which one had to accept, and if you did not accept it, you could not be defeated. When I read that, I suddenly realized that I had accepted shell shock. Sure, I was knocked out and found myself in a hospital bed. Nurses and doctors were talking about me, and a chart about me was over the bed, and they were saying I was shell-shocked, and it would take 2 years to cure me. And nurses rubbed my back with alcohol and tucked me in bed and were so sorry for me. Say, I was important. Never before had I been treated like that. Sure, I was shell-shocked, and I liked it. I believed I was in for a 2 years cure, and I accepted that as a fact. Just as soon as I refused to accept it any more, I was cured. No, you were not cured, I replied, for there was nothing to be cured except your belief. There was nothing the matter with you except the wound which nature healed. In another instant, a man told me that he was a victim of phlebitis, an arthritis due to old age. As he was in his early 60s, I told him of a friend of mine who, at 92, was still skating an hour a day, and many other such cases. This man had manufactured his own condition by disobeying the laws of nature. He had been living a very sedentary life, confined in his studio, and never using his legs for the purpose of walking as intended by nature. If we do not use what is given us to use, nature atrophies and destroys them. Phlebitis and arthritis were the implements used by nature to destroy that which he refused to use. I am 10 years older than you, yet I still run, ride horseback, skate, and walk miles daily, also doing my work. Yet you have accepted not only your infirmities, but your old age while you are still young. If you had the courage to walk increasingly long distances daily until you walk 7 miles every day, or its equivalent in work, you could use your legs as I do. He took my advice and became perfectly well.